Hey guys, Chris Cookin' Nashville here, just doing a quick weekly health vlog for you all, and just an interesting discussion that I wanted to talk with you guys briefly. So health-wise, feeling good this week. We had a stomach bug go through our house, and that was not particularly fun, but I am back on track, feeling much better, and that has resolved. And as a result of that, I was holding on to some inflammation, and that's kind of gone back down, feeling a lot better. My belt is fitting properly again, so there we go. So I'm just continuing that stuff. I've had, like I said in my last health vlog, I've had a few veggies here and there, just kind of experimenting to see how my body is going to react to some different things, just so I know what flexibility or options I do or don't have. I noticed something really interesting. When I eat any kind of plant matter, if I eat a few bites of it, if I eat a little bit of it, as long as it's something that doesn't cause a reaction for me, a few bites of it doesn't hurt me. And I think this is why I can handle seasonings and spices and that kind of stuff pretty well. But if I eat a little bit more of it and I eat too much, if I get really full feeling, I notice that if I'm eating veggies and I'm really full, I don't necessarily feel as good after being that full, right? So when I eat carnivore, like pure carnivore, and I'm doing meat and eggs, I can basically eat until I am very, very comfortably stuffed. And I'm very full and I don't want any more food, but I don't have any kind of like a sick feeling. You know that feeling that probably many of us have experienced where you eat so much you feel sick afterwards? You just can't possibly put another bite in without just feeling awful. I used to experience that a lot when I ate junk food. But I can eat carnivore foods and have none of that reaction. Like I can stuff myself and still not have that feeling of like, oh, I don't feel good after doing that. Like there's a point where my body it cuts it off. My brain says you're done. I'm very stuffed, but I don't have a sick feeling. Something that's really interesting is if I eat and I'm really, really super stuffed, and then I'm having some veggies at the end of that, right? So like the veggies are the last thing that I'm generally eating, and I'm kind of like at that point of being, really, really full. If I have more than just a small amount of the veggies, I notice I have a little bit of that feeling. It's not a lot, but I have a little bit of that feeling of like, I don't necessarily know if I feel that good being that stuffed. So it's just an interesting observation, not something that I'm doing regularly or that I have any desire or intention to do, but it's just an interesting observation that for me personally, if I eat to the point of being comfortably stuffed, if there's more than a few bites of veggies that go along with that, I tend to be a little less comfortably satisfied at the end of that and a little more of the kind of uncomfortable feeling. So I definitely think that even if I occasionally have a few veggies, I still am going to feel much better if I limit the amount. And that's not an everyday thing. That's like a once, twice a week kind of thing that I'm talking about doing, not every single day. So still remaining 95% carnivore, and then, the occasional food where it's not carnivore, but limiting how much of that I have, kind of being ketovore for, one meal or something. That's what seems to be the line for me. At least so far, that's kind of what I'm experiencing with the few experiments that I've done. So it's just something interesting. I generally feel best being carnivore, and that's what I'm going to be most of the time. But it is nice to do these experiments and figure out where the line is and what flexibility I have. So I thought that was pretty cool. Just kind of recognize that pattern and be able to make that informed decision about either having a few veggies here and there when I feel like, it's an opportunity where I would like to, or just avoiding them and saying, nope, that's not going to make me feel good, so I'm not going to do it because it's not worth it. So the experimentation is going well. All is good. This coming Tuesday, I'm recording this earlier in the week. You won't see this until Wednesday, but this coming Tuesday, I'm getting ready for my live stream. So if you're watching this and you didn't know I did a live stream the day before this video comes out, I am now starting a weekly live stream called Backstage with Chris, where you guys just get to come hang out with me and Ash in the kitchen. And I'm cooking and I'm answering questions and I'm giving you cooking tips, kitchen tips, just anything you guys want to know. I'm an open book. Feel free to come hang out with us and talk with us. And there might even be some music thrown in there. So definitely go check that out if you haven't yet. So I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about just some small amount of research that I was doing that led me to a place of finding an interesting outlook and an interesting perspective on things. So I was doing some research of anthropology, and one of the things that they were talking about in this particular article that I was reading, it was talking about feasting and the cultural reasons behind feasting, because feasting is a cultural universal thing that has been observed in basically every group of human civilization. All countries, all time periods, everything. Like, this is just a human thing that we do that is cultural. But more than even just that, it's also done by primates, which is really, really interesting. And specifically, they were talking about chimpanzees, how they have feasts. And essentially, in the primate realm where this is being done, the alpha male and sort of the more senior members of the group of chimpanzees, they're the ones eating first, and then meat is passed down to the lower and lower levels of like the males and, and then the females and the young chimpanzees and all this kind of stuff. So it kind of goes down through the food chain. And I was thinking about this because this is really interesting how, as carnivores, sometimes there are some very dogmatic carnivores that have this sort of outlook on things like, say, the recipes that I do, or getting together with family, or, the cultural implication of food, that all of that is ridiculous. And their tendency is to communicate this as food is not entertainment, it's fuel. And I do agree that food is fuel and it should not be used as entertainment like a drug, because that's what leads us to a lot of problems. But the truth of it is, if you're putting good things in your body, the entertainment does not come as a result of, say, like carbs spiking your insulin and causing you to have the effects of the drug of eating sugar. Instead, the entertainment of food in those scenarios, if you're putting good things in your body, is coming from the cultural interaction. But if you go back and you study the anthropology of the human race, and if you especially look at things like our similarities to primates and the fact that they do this as well, you will notice that there is a cultural reason for what feasting was. And one of the earliest records of feasting is, written somewhere way back in all of our recorded history, is basically expressing that anthropologically, feasting and eating together with other people was a way to express that we were sharing resources, that we were bonding, we were making eye contact, we were removing threats, and we were showing teeth without it being in anger. And so it actually was culturally bringing down our level of defense and stress and all of these things that would have led us to a position of fighting for survival with each other. So instead of fighting with each other, we were feasting together and we were sharing and we were bonding. We were becoming a tribe. Dr. Berry talks about the tribe sort of thing, right? That's why his private community is the tribe. This is the same concept. It's us all sitting together and making eye contact and bonding culturally over food. So when I talk about my recipes and the ability to have fun in the kitchen, provide resources for other people, especially things that, although it may be carnivore or keto or ketovore, so it feels good to your body, we're putting in the time and the effort to create things that are culturally relevant to what other people expect, that may or may not be on this same kind of way of eating, but they're going to enjoy the recipe because it looks like something they expect. It gives us that opportunity to have that cultural moment where we can act like a tribe and where we can break bread, or carnivore bread more likely, together, so that we can make eye contact and we can show that we're not baring our teeth in anger, and we can bond and communicate in a way that lets us share resources and just give ourselves the emotional, mental, and spiritual comfort that comes from eating together. So I totally agree that food is fuel and not entertainment, from the standpoint of you should not be using it like a drug, like sugar and processed junk and high carb foods and all of that. However, the entertainment of eating together is a really culturally important and relevant thing. And a lot of people think that carnivores are crazy. And a lot of carnivores act crazy trying to convince people that we're not crazy. My thought here, and this is just my opinion, and you're welcome to disagree, but my thought is that if we stopped acting like we were going to be dogmatic about this, and we stopped cutting everything and everyone off related to the cultural relevance of our feasting together, and instead we said, no, culturally we totally understand this. We can feast together, we can bond as a tribe, and we can culturally express that we are working together and sharing our resources. I have a feeling a lot of the world around us wouldn't think we were so crazy, and our families and our friends wouldn't be so against that weird diet that you're doing because we weren't setting ourselves off to the side of everybody else so intentionally. Whether we mean to do that or not, in those situations where we are like, you know, this is my carnivore food and that's what I'm doing and you guys eat whatever you want, but I'm going to sit over here. I get it. Sometimes there's things we have to do to take care of our health, and that may mean that we don't eat the same thing as everybody else. And I think most of the time that's okay. But there are occasions where it really means a lot to the people around you and will mean a lot to you yourself, even if you don't think that it will, for us to all be able to sit and share at least a part of the meal that we can all agree on. So even if that's steaks or burger patties or some kind of a carnivore casserole or some other recipe, whatever, the more of those things we can share that we can all enjoy, regardless of whether we're a carnivore or a keto or ketovore person or someone on a standard American diet that's in our family, whatever, the more we can bond over sharing our resources and have the anthropological and cultural foundation of feasting together, the more people are going to understand what we're doing is about our health, not about dogma and not about proving something to the rest of the world. That's how you get people to listen, and that's how you get people to understand there are benefits to this. So I understand there are people that have triggers and there are people that have addictions and different things we have to take into account. So we have to be smart and use common sense about this kind of stuff. But understand that if you put your foot down and you become dogmatic and you want the rest of the world to change to meet your expectations overnight, you are going against all of the anthropological and cultural training that has been done to the human race since the beginning of the human race. That is why people are so anti-keto, ketovore, carnivore, because we have been trained by corporations to think that what feasting should mean is all of this junk and the carbs, and there's so much misinformation. So if we want to help people understand that that is misinformation and that that's not true, and that all of these carbs are harming our health, and that something like a keto, ketovore, or carnivore diet is really good for us physically, we can't also then try to tear down everyone's cultural expectation of us being able to share a meal together on occasion. I think we should share our carnivore meals and our keto meals and the recipes that we can make and the things we can do with this, even if it's not every day, even if it's only on occasion. I think we should be open to the idea of doing that kind of stuff, not even for our own good, but for the good of the culture around us, so that we can help other people recognize that there is great benefit in eating a proper human diet, and that it doesn't mean that it's going to destroy the social construct that we have had for thousands and thousands of years within the human race. That's where we find balance, at least to me. That's what I think. What do you guys think about it? Do you think that there are cultural reasons where recipes for keto, ketovore, carnivore can be useful and maybe even be helpful for family and friends who don't eat that way already? Put down in the comments below what you guys think. Let me know, sound off, and get ready for all of the cool stuff coming this year, because we've got some really, really fun recipes coming your way soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Chris Cookin' Nashville. Eat your meat, love your life, share a meal with someone you love. I'll see you guys in the kitchen for the next recipe.